Hey everybody, thanks for taking the time to register for this event. And like any webinar that I'm doing, the main worries always are, can we get the technology right? And then once the technology is okay, I can relax, I can deliver the workshop and can get to know you all and can really try and share all the expertise that I have. Let me just check a few things to make sure this is okay. So I think, yeah, people seem to be registering. It seems to be okay. So hopefully it seems to be registering. I'm just waiting for my team to give me a quick update to let me know the account's okay. Everything's okay here. Yeah, it looks like it's all loading now. And there's always a little bit of a delay between registering from one platform and going live. And so please bear with me for the first couple of minutes just whilst we get this right. Making sure the video's okay, making sure the sound's okay. Yeah, I've got the go ahead from the team, so that's very exciting. One of the main things that gives me this huge privilege is I think the last time I checked, there was 1,600 people registered. So I'm sat in my office delivering this talk to 1,600 people all over the world. And I get a huge feeling of gratitude just that I get this chance to impact you in some sort of way. And in this webinar, there'll be some people that will think this is great. I really want to work with Patrick, and I'll explain more about how we work. Others will think this is great. I want to apply this to my team internally. And others will think this is a bit too advanced, but I'll try this in the future. But the impact that I can have to people all over the world is the point of me doing webinars, doing events, and trying to help you. So thank you so much for introducing yourself, for saying hello. People from Estonia, Alex, welcome. Colombia, actually I've never been, but I'd love to go. Indiana, USA, Texas. So there's so many people that are here, and thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. The reason why I host this webinar at this particular date is I'm a sales and marketing person, and I know what it's like for all of you, July and August, where you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing, and it's difficult to make sales. And then suddenly September comes and things start to boom. And this webinar is just about helping you get the cobwebs out, helping you get into some good routines and good habits, and then ready for that big push to start to grow your network and ultimately build new relationships, which is the point of this webinar. So I'll get started. I'll share my screen. So excited to be here, though, and presenting with all of you, and I hope you will enjoy the next 60 minutes. So let's get going. So to start with, this is the topic I want to cover today: networking in the digital age, how to build strong connections on LinkedIn. And I think this is critical because if you think of LinkedIn as a platform, it's a completely different animal to things like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. It's so different. And I'm a father of two small children, and I see the impact that social media are even having on them. Now, they're not on social media, but even watching kids' cartoons and things like that, I'm just seeing the power of technology to influence people at such an early age. And the reason why I focus so much on LinkedIn is I think it's probably one of the only platforms that can really do good. Whereas a lot of the other social media platforms, I think they can grow your business, you can do very well, but they can become very addictive. And I think LinkedIn is this incredible platform where, like today, there's 1,300 people out of this event that I've never met before. Out of the 1,600, 1,300 are not in my network. We've never spoke before. You might have watched one of my webinars, but we've never interacted before. So I think this is a great opportunity where things like LinkedIn webinars or even Facebook or YouTube, which I'm streaming as well, you can start to build your network, get to know people, but there should be a purpose, there should be a why. And like I said, I'm a salesperson and I always want to know what is the why. Because if I don't know, I'm not going to do it. And even if I do ask one why, I'll ask another four or five whys until I really know the core of why do anything. So if you think about today, why build strong connections on LinkedIn? Why bother? And I think if you're a salesperson, consider the ability to get a stranger not to want to buy from you, but want to learn from you, want to get to know you, want to see I can trust that person. That's what LinkedIn can help you with. Think about investors who are getting bombarded all the time with investment pitches from startups and pitch decks. How do you stand out? How do you make them come to you instead of you go to them? Think about recruitment. As a company, you're always trying to show how you're different, how you're diverse, how you're equal. How do you get that out there to people looking to find jobs? And LinkedIn is such a powerful platform for all of those different areas. So before I start, I think it's important just to introduce myself a little bit. And I read a very good study that the context of how somebody introduces somebody into a webinar has a direct impact on how people find the webinar. So basically, if I do a good introduction at the end of the webinar, hopefully you'll say, I really enjoyed it. So this is the goal. I'm the founder of prospectlabs.co, and we're a startup lead generation agency. So we mostly work with startups, although we do work with a lot of agencies, services, developers, that sort of thing. And our goal is helping people to generate leads via LinkedIn, LinkedIn events, and cold emailing. And the purpose of today is to try and show you what we do behind the scenes for our clients, for you to do it yourself or to get more of an understanding of how we can help you. I'm also a father of 2 small children, and I'm an ex-professional footballer. And the reason I share this is, as you'll see in the talk as we go, the goal of LinkedIn is not B2B, business to business, and it's not B2C, business to consumer. It's human to human. It's how do I get you 1,600 people out there that you've never met to say, Pat, I enjoyed your talk. Let's have a chat. Can I help you? Somebody on the side of the world who will say, do you know what, Pat? I know somebody might want to work with you or make an intro. How do you do that? And it's a human to human interaction. And what you will find is, regardless of how big your business is, people buy from people first. Even if you look at Elon Musk, it's the ability that he can speak or cause, I don't know, hype on his presentations. Tim Cook, Steve Jobs, all these people that were the main sort of person. That's how they sort of really build hype, because people bought from people and then the brand. So I want you to get to know me personally, because that's how we'll build a relationship. And in the future, ask me about my kids, their names, get to know me, ask me about my football career, who my favorite team is, who I played against, or the best player I played against, which I think was Cristiano Ronaldo, but that's another story. But I have a very interesting background that it's good to get to know each other. And some tips for you as salespeople: be vulnerable and be open. And when I talk about LinkedIn profiles today, you'll get what I mean. Make it easy for somebody to start a conversation. And what I mean by this is, have you ever been to a party or networking event, and the first person that speaks to you, they just say, hi, so what do you do? And it's not about what do you do. It should be, who are you? What do you care about? What are you passionate about? So if you add these little things to your LinkedIn profile, and here I'm sharing, I have 2 children, ex-professional footballer, and run a lead generation agency, there should be some small talk for you to start a conversation, to either buy from me or probably to try and sell something to me. Also, a bit of my background, I'm a growth coach to Start Wise Guys, which is voted, I think, one of the Europe's leading B2B startup accelerators. And my role with them is training the startups and also helping them stay up to date with technology, with softwares, with training their startups on how to really get to that first 10K monthly revenue. I'm also an advisor to a lot of accelerator programs throughout Europe and a lot of startups I do consulting from time to time. So now you know about me. I hope you trust me and know I'm in a position to do this. I've talked about this for about 13 years and fine-tuned every year what I'm about to show you. So let's get going. If you think about where does your strategy fit, and this is what's really interesting, a lot of people have not necessarily 2 sides of the mind, but 2 sides of where they agree. One is inbound marketing. So if I said to you, how are you generating new sales? How are you interacting with more people? How are you building your brand? A lot of people will say inbound marketing. So this is things like they write LinkedIn posts, they might have paid ads, they might be focusing on SEO to attract people to their site. They might be making videos on YouTube or LinkedIn to attract people. And their goal is, can they educate people? Can they make really interesting content that makes people want to come to them? That's inbound marketing. The flip side is outbound marketing. These are the hustlers, the salespeople, the people that are impatient, the people that live on the adrenaline for making sales. You could see the charismatic people, the charming people, but it's not always those types of people. But outbound marketing is the ability to say, I'm going to find 10 people to speak to today via cold LinkedIn messages, cold emailing, cold calling, going in the street and speaking to people. That is outbound marketing. And I think where all of my strategy fits, that I try and train everybody, is this section in the middle. And this is called, well, it hasn't got a name actually. I sometimes call it bound marketing. But generally, this is the bit in the middle that overlaps inbound and outbound. So here's an example. If I said to any of you, everybody on this webinar today, 1,600 people are registered, all of you need to find 10 people for me to speak to in the next 1 hour, what would you do? And I think the quickest way would be outbound marketing. You could email everybody, you could call everybody, you could message everybody. Very rarely people would say, I would write a blog post and hope they come. So outbound marketing gets the quickest results. But if you think about sales, if I message any of you before this event and you'd never heard about me, and I said, my name is Patrick, I run a lead gen agency, can we jump on a call? Some of you might say, yes, sounds interesting, but the majority of you will say, leave me alone. And the reason you'd say, leave me alone, is there's no context. You don't know who I am. You don't know if I've just started an agency or I've been going 10 years. There's no timing. I don't know if it's a good time to speak to you or not. I'm just messaging you when it's good for me. And there's no trust. Even if I'm the best in the world, you don't know it. So how do you trust that you're going to jump on a call with me? Finally, there's no education. If I message you just out of the blue with no way to show you I know what I'm talking about, why would you work with me? So that's why outbound marketing is often flawed if you don't have a way to educate people. So think of this event. I couldn't cover 90 minutes or 60 minutes worth of talking in 3 lines of messages. I'd have to write hundreds and hundreds of messages to send to you to get you to speak to me. So it just wouldn't work. Now, flip on the other side, inbound marketing. These are people that would be interested in head of marketing, head of branding, head of content, these sorts of things. Now, if you write a LinkedIn post, how many of those people do you check that have interacted with the post and want to speak to you? On the flip side as well, how many times you do a LinkedIn newsletter and see how many people have registered for our newsletter that are not in our network? Or what about today, a LinkedIn event? 1,300 of you have registered for my event. This is inbound marketing. But outbound marketing would be me looking through the list and picking out people that I think would be perfect to work with and then working with you. That's the divide between inbound marketing and outbound marketing. So I think, Nadia, you made a comment here saying outbound marketing is an irritating mechanism for decision makers. It's tricky. I think outbound marketing, if you think about dating and you say, how am I going to find somebody? I'm single, I want to meet somebody. Inbound would be great. Everybody just wants to speak to you and say, can I date you? But it doesn't happen like that. You have to be proactive. So in dating, you might not go up to strangers and say, can I buy you a drink? But you might do the things that put you in the right situation to meet somebody like-minded. And that's what I want to show you with outbound marketing. It's not the cold approach of spamming somebody. It's building up a relationship and then driving them to somewhere where you can educate them. And that's the general goal I go with. So before we do this, before we look about building your network, let me ask you this one question. What are your first impressions of yourself? When you look at LinkedIn profile and you look at your profile, it's a bit like looking in the mirror. Do you look at that and say, I love myself? Not in an arrogant way, but I'm proud of myself. I've worked so hard to get where I am. I'm happy with who I am. Does your LinkedIn profile represent how you want people to perceive you? Or your LinkedIn profile, no background, profile picture that's 10 years ago, no description, but your physical persona is well-dressed, well-spoken, charismatic, I don't know, energetic, exciting. They don't match. So the first step of all of LinkedIn lead generation, growing your network, hiring, investment, recruiting, whatever it is step 1, your LinkedIn profile. What are people's first impressions of you? Now, you might think about looking at me now. Why have I not got glasses on, even though I sometimes wear? Why am I not wearing a suit? Why am I not standing up or sitting down? Why I've got a mic instead of a big mic? These aren't all just things that happen. These are things that I try and control to say, my brand is startup, it's trust, it's professionalism, it's attention to detail. It's sometimes humor, but not always. But I like to give a talk, and at the end of the talk, I would hope everybody could write down 4 or 5 words to describe me, and those would be the words I want to be described as. And to be able to control of this, it's your LinkedIn profile. So if you optimize your LinkedIn profile, on average, the stats say you're 40 times more likely to be found in searches. So just by updating your profile, much more likely that people will find you. And you'll see this if you're ever looking for a job and you start to add keywords, or if you're hiring and you update your profile to say we are hiring or something like that. So if you say we've raised investment, and then journalists start to get in touch with you. So optimizing your profile can be 40 times more likely for people to be found in searches. And it just makes common sense. If you were going into the most important meeting of your life, what will you wear? How would you present yourself? Would you have a business card? What would it say? This is basically the digital version. And what's interesting is if you ever Google somebody's name, their LinkedIn profile will come up much higher than anything else. So basically, if you meet somebody at a trade show, at an event, anything like this, they Google your name, LinkedIn is what they're going to find first. So be in control of their first impressions. Make it look like it's how you want to be perceived. So here's my few tips. Profile picture. Just get head and shoulders, good quality picture, no backgrounds, professional picture. And all you want is somebody to think, I trust you. Not I'm attracted or not attracted, not funny or not funny, not intelligent, not intelligent, not cool. Just I trust you. You don't really want them to have an opinion of you because this is not a dating website. You don't want people to look at you and think, oh, I'm attracted to them, I'll connect with them. That is not the goal of LinkedIn. So your profile picture needs to be the best professional version of you. Now, what's very interesting is when I travel all over the world training companies, and sometimes people will have a grayed out picture, and I'll say, let's take a picture. And they always say, oh, we don't have professional pictures. An iPhone or any up-to-date phone next to a white wall, take a photo, and that's it. So there is no excuse for anybody not to have a very good-looking profile picture. And by good-looking, I mean high quality, optimized head and shoulders. I get the point sometimes when people want to show their whole body, as in the hands, if they're talking on stage, but that's more like a background image than a profile picture. Profile picture, think like a passport photo. If you ever struggle with this, have a look at a software called PFP Maker, this one here. I'll just show you it very quickly. And hopefully my screen is changing and you can see this site. So PFP Maker. So this is a free software, and if you upload a picture, it can do a few options. Number one is it can just take away the background colors. So you can see here, it can have all different options. So with my own profile, I use this to have the same branding on my website as I do from each of my team have their own colors. And they're really proud of their own sort of brand and their colors. Also, you can start to do different things. You can blur out things, you can add company colors, so you can really make it work for you. And so have a look at your profile for this one, PFP Maker, and this will turn something that's a little bit busy background to something that's just clean and nicely colored. Good. So I think this is a free software. So any of you out there after this call, our webinar, if you do just one thing, get your profile picture looking good. Good. Next thing I want to show you. Background image. So the background image is really critical. So imagine a background image on your website. It's the top half of your website. So somebody comes to your website, they read what you do, then they scroll down. But I'm amazed how many people have a wonderful website, spend 10, 20, 30,000 on it, but their LinkedIn profile is gray. Basically, what this means is I'm not in control of my brand. I don't have attention to detail, or LinkedIn is just not that important to me. But imagine you message me on LinkedIn saying, hey, do I want to work with you? But you can't even take the time to brand yourself correctly. So that's why I think it's really important that you update your background image. With this, there's some examples here from Vilnius, where I'm based in Lithuania, and there's a tourism agency called Go Vilnius, and they're very, very good at their advertising. And so what they have is a background saying, Vilnius, amazing, wherever you think it is. And it's not a photo, but it's sort of an AI picture of what Vilnius can be like. So this is your opportunity to really bring your background picture to life, and don't miss this opportunity. If you're not sure about design, just go to canva.com, canva.com. And I think Regilla, who's on moderating, she can share in the chat. Brilliant tool. And again, you can get this done yourself. So if you get your profile picture and your background image correct, first impressions mean that at least you're well branded and people can understand what you say. In terms of the background image, make sure it's not over the top and don't have a picture of you speaking. Because basically you'll have your profile picture and then a picture of you, and it's lots of pictures of you. It's a bit too much. So try and have your background image fairly plain and simple, and a bit of a tagline or text of what you do, who you help, that sort of thing. And I'll show you a few examples in a second. Secondly, the most important thing, your tagline. Now, your tagline is not your job title and that's all. It's the small bit of context that you'll see when somebody tries to connect. And I'll show you here. So in my network, lots of people here connecting. This is your tagline, and this is what people see. And Michael, if you're watching now, it might just be random timing. You say marketing officer, Open Athens, physics student, as a customer satisfaction enthusiastic, there's a lot of things I'm going to give you feedback here to change. So the very first thing is job title at company. That's really critical. If your student, say student at university, founder at Prospect Labs, head of marketing at Uber, whatever your job title is. But the reason for this is trust. When you're reaching out to somebody and somebody wants to connect with you, the first thing they will see is, I understand their job title, and are they in a position of power, a position of partnership, a position of skill, but I want to know who I'm speaking to. And in this example here, I don't know the job title, student marketing officer. So at least I get a little bit of an idea, but still not so clear. Then try and say impact or small talk. In this one here, Laura, who you see here, Laura Haldane, she says Game of Thrones extra. Now this divides a lot of people because so many people look at this profile and say, why has she got pictures of dogs? Why is she talking about Game of Thrones? This is not professional. And I would argue the opposite. Laura is an incredible salesperson, has run her business, sales and marketing, for 7 years, and is VP of sales at a company called SciLeads, which is a well-funded startup. She is successful at what she does. So don't try and criticize somebody unless you can understand the context of what works for them. So Laura is saying, this is my passion. This is my LinkedIn profile. The profile belongs to me, not the company. And so I want to talk about what I'm passionate about. Now, what I talked about before about saying professional footballer, if you spoke to her, I think your first question would be, so who did you meet? Where did you work? Who was the favorite actor? Like everybody could start a conversation about that. Likewise, everybody in the world either likes dogs or cats and can talk about them. So it's a really easy way to start a conversation, get going, and then talk about business. So in your job title, try and find something that will say job title at company and then impact. And if you use a vertical line like this, it just helps look at really neat and keeps it tidy. The other option is Vilma here at the bottom, and she says head of tourism at Go Vilnius. So you understand her job title in the company, and then she says impact, helping visitors to discover the best of Vilnius. There's a very good book called The Mom Test. If you're American mom, if you're English, you call it mother, but it's Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. And this idea is, could you tell your mother in one sentence what you do, and would they understand it? And if they can, you know it's simple. So Vilma could say, hey, Mom, I'm helping visitors discover the best of Vilnius. Cool, makes sense. I reckon some of you on your job title will say things like disrupting startup environments through blockchain, AI, whatever, and your target audience just doesn't get it. So you need to keep it so simple that your target audience will understand, because even if your product is complicated, your buyer might not be. They might not be so technical, but your solution helps them become more technical. So try and keep it simple. The other thing is keep it short. If it's too long, it spills over. And in this example here, I can't see all the things Ruth's trying to say. That's probably amazing, but it's too long. So it needs to finish here. So Ruth could say, head of customer service at company, helping to X, and that sort of idea. Good. Ignash, you're saying what to add if someone wants to transition from X to Y profile. I think explain a little bit more, but one of the about that, please, if you can. But I think one of the questions a lot of people ask me is, what happens if I'm starting a job, or a new company, but I'm still working my current job and I don't want to tell people? It's a bit tricky, but you need to be sort of subtle. So imagine Laura was going to a new company. She could say VP sales and marketing, passionate about, I don't know, passionate about property. And then her new business might be about property. So that means that even when you reach out to people to interact, just because there's a little bit of a tagline, even though you're still in one company, you can still talk about that other product. And that means that this works a lot of time for development agencies who have one company but have sub-products that they're trying to sell. Then they say passionate about X. One question is, what about if you're unemployed? Then just say a job title, open to work, expert in communication, expert in sales. But it's what's the impact you want to make. So I think, Serge, when you're saying, what do you do your job title? Say, looking for new opportunities. Tell the world I'm looking for employment. Be proactive. Your brand, if you're employed or unemployed, is the same. It's looking to tell the world what your next steps are. Good. Next thing is your about section. Now, this is so frustrating because if you're working on LinkedIn profile, the last thing you want to do is be updating about section, writing all the information, almost feeling like you're updating your CV. Particularly if you're head of sales, head of marketing, a founder, you'll think you're past the stage. But this is so important for two reasons. Number one is keywords. If you say in your profile, LinkedIn lead generation expert, and somebody's on LinkedIn is looking for it, they'll find you more. Secondly, you want people to get beneath the surface, learn about you, what motivates you, what makes you the best version of you. And my friend Manish has this description. And I just want to show you some bits about this simply because every time I read this, I almost feel like I'm in the room with him. I feel like I get you. I get what makes you as a person. So he says, sports fan and travel enthusiast and an investment banker. So a whole wealth of experience. Traveled for 8 years, doing different businesses. Then he brought them both together to make Dream Set Go. Beside this, here's a few other things. And it's this bottom bit I love. Has been an investment banker, has sat on the board, loves Team India, Mumbai Indians and Chelsea, and his dream to go and watch a cricket match. So when you read that, you feel like you're not speaking to a founder, you're reading about what makes him him. And you can speak to him about so many different things because you get to know him. So your about section should be an introduction to the world to say, this is what makes me who I am, not just a very dull information about your skills. This needs to be the description of you. Good. So a few other things on your LinkedIn profile, and then I want to get to how do we really find your target audience and interact with them. So the featured section, and I'll show you this very quickly on my own profile. So the featured section, not everybody does, but I think it's the most powerful way to find ways to interact. And the way to do this is if you click Add Profile section, and then you go to Recommended, and then click Add Featured. And it'll take you to a page here where you can click the plus sign, and then down here you can link to lots of things. So add a link would be to external media like your website, that sort of thing. Or you could maybe add media like YouTube videos, blog posts, that sort of thing. But what it does is it brings to life your LinkedIn profile by adding a bit of color. But then on top of that, it also creates external links so people find your newsletter, see some awards, see some trust, that sort of thing. So what I like about this is it's all pointing towards building trust about who you are and your expertise. So when I work with a startup, I like it that they can see I won an award in last year, Mentor of the Year for an accelerator program. So I haven't just started, I've been doing this for many years and I've won awards for what I'm doing. That helps me build trust to say, can I speak to you? Can I get on a call with you or can I work with you? So try and find a way to update that feature section. If you've not got anything to show, add a picture of your product, add a link to your website, add some things that just make it a bit more colorful, that a stranger might go on your LinkedIn profile, click to your website, and now they're looking at your website. And why this is great is once someone's on the website, it's all about you and what you do. Whereas if they're just looking at your LinkedIn profile, there's so many distractions, notification messages that they soon quickly off your profile and then forget about it. Good. So there's a lot of other things you can add to your LinkedIn profile that I'm not going to share now, but I just want to show you things like your content, companies that you've worked with, your education, your skills, recommendations that people have given you. There are so many things you can add, but I want to get to the really, in my terms, fun stuff, which is how do we actually find people that you want to interact with? Just before I do that, so this was Laura's profile. And my friend Caitlin, who works for HubSpot, the only thing I wanted to show you about her is that use of the orange color. Just by using that software, PFP Maker, you can update the background, use your brand, and that orange color that you can see there stands out so much more when you're interacting with people and getting to know them. Good. So I hope the pace of the talk is okay. My style is naturally very practical. I want to show you a lot of information. And what I'm about to show you now is how to find your perfect target audience on LinkedIn. One thing I want you to remember is you don't need to do all of this. So don't feel overwhelmed if you think there are 8 or 9 things that I could be doing and I'm not doing any of them, or I'm only doing 1 or 2. That's not the goal. That's like an analogy of making a perfect meal and saying, I've only used 4 ingredients. I should have used 20. It's not the case. Find what it works for you and makes sense, and then really push it across your profile and other people's profiles. But to start with, I just want to give you a context of what it means to find your target audience. So your profile is optimized, profile picture, background, tagline. Then the next thing is how to find your target audience. And think of the mindset of why. Are you looking for a job? Are you looking to hire somebody? Are you looking to build up leads to make sales? Are you looking to raise investment? Are you looking to invest in somebody? Are you looking for more PR? Whatever it might be, there needs to be a logic of why. But once you have that logic, then apply it to the next steps. And this is what we have. So LinkedIn has 8 different ways to find your target audience. And the funny thing about LinkedIn is they are so sneaky in terms of just releasing features and not telling. So can you imagine any of us today, we all got together and said, let's build a business. And in 10 years' time, we had 900 million people using the product. Pretty successful. You would think by that time, they would have somebody sharing a product roadmap, maybe a newsletter, maybe some emails letting you know how it works. But LinkedIn will just release features and not tell anybody. And the reason why I'm delivering a talk from Prospect Labs and not an approved partner of LinkedIn is because there's no such thing as an approved partner. LinkedIn doesn't have it. So what this means is that I can show you things that are not often learned by many people. It's the small hacks that can really get you the biggest results. And I always say to people when I'm training, to become the best at LinkedIn, you just have to be not terrible. And most people are really terrible because LinkedIn don't train you. They either let you have a free account or charge Sales Navigator. But how many people have had a demo from LinkedIn on how to use LinkedIn? Very rarely. So this is what I want to show you. So how to find your target audience. Generally, I would say try and find people based on buying signals. And what I mean by that is, what do they have in common? But to start with, I'm going to go through just logically how most people do it. So step 1, LinkedIn search. If you go to LinkedIn, you can press the top left and click search and then enter. The easiest way is just to click people. And there you go. We have 939 million people to speak to. Ideally, you want to get that down to, I don't know, 100, a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000. So you need to use filters. And here's a few bit of advice just very quickly, and I'll zoom in a little bit to make sure you can see. Always try second and third degree. But one thing to consider is there is a fourth degree. Fourth degree basically means they have a LinkedIn profile, but you have no connection in common. There's no link between you and them. So they exist on LinkedIn, but they will never show your network. So the bigger the network you have, the more people that you'll be able to see. A quick trick here of connections of, if you want to find the connections of somebody else, then maybe connect with a head of sales or marketing at your competitor. Then you can type them in. You can then find somebody, Cristobal I know very well, and then all his connections are probably my target audience as well. And that's a really good approach to find a target audience with LinkedIn search. Generally, though, this is what I would do. I would filter by location. I would ignore marketing or company or past company or school. The reason being that if I want to target somebody from a specific company, I'll just go to the company page and find them instead of this way. But what I usually do is industry. Now, LinkedIn again is sneaky. So if you click add an industry and I type in startup, there's no such thing. So I need to choose things like technology, that sort of thing, IT. But it's a bit tricky because my target audience are startups. So if you think of Uber, are they transportation or are they computer software? If you think of Airbnb, are they hospitality or computer software? So it's not always the easiest way to target people by industry. And if you can target somebody based on a job title that's really specific, for example, optician, doctor, there's only going to be one sort of industry that opticians will be in, so you don't need to say hospital or healthcare. So generally, you can filter by industry, but the main trick is just this. When you see title, try this, founder or CEO. And this is called a Boolean search. And basically what it means is that if you do these brackets, you do a space, and then you do capital or, it will let you do up to about 5 to 6 searches within the title. And if you're doing that, what it means is that you can search for multiple people. Particularly if your audience is not so big, then your network might be very small and the results might be small. So if you try that and click show results, you'll then see, I don't know, 72,000. So loads and loads of results. And then the final thing you can do, and this is not completely natural to LinkedIn or to users, is if you click search at the very top here, oh, I'll just check. I've just got a message saying it's not sharing. So let me just start sharing again, 1 second, see if this works okay. Present, share screen, tag screen. There you go. Hopefully that's starting to share again now. If there's any problems, please let me know. So when you have all your searches just here, the final thing you can do on search is then type a keyword. So if I typed in, I don't know, blockchain, let's say, very, very specific industry keyword, and click there. And what you can see is this has narrowed it down to 896 results. And this is what I want to do. So when you do this, the general idea is I've narrowed it down from 930 million to 900 people. And it's much more likely that these people would be my target audience. Second and third degree connections in United Kingdom, in the right industry, founders or CEOs, that sort of thing. And then finally, they have the specific word in their profile. So this can be a really good way to get very specific with your searches. So when you're doing your searches like that, just to recap, if you go to all filters, second and third degree, location, industry, but the most important thing is these job titles and this keyword search. And if you do that, you'll start to find a much better target audience. Good. So that's your basic LinkedIn search. Now, Sales Navigator is a bit more in advance. If we go to Sales Navigator, so this is the updated version that you can click here. What Sales Navigator will let you do is a much more sales intent target audience. And what I mean by this is they'll let you see the same sorts of things like second and third degree, but also they'll show things like who's following your company. So I might say, who's following my company, but I've not connected with them. Or maybe this one could be better, who's recently viewed my profile, but I've never spoke to you. All these people. And then I could say, what about headcount? And this is what you can't do on basic LinkedIn. And headcount's really important because if you're 1 to 10 employees, maybe my target audience. But if you've got 11 to 50, you're perfect. And then I could say job title. So current job title here, I could say founder, but I want to exclude investor. And there you go. And this is just one example that there are 39 people here that are the perfect size. They viewed my profile, but I've never connected with them. So I would class them as potential leads. Very startup leads because we don't know each other, but they've showed enough buying intent that they want to speak to me. So Sales Navigator, I could do a talk alone for about 2 hours, but these are a few of the quick hacks that I want to show you. So when we look at all of these, LinkedIn search, free to use, but you're limited to 1,000 results per month. So you very quickly go through this if you're a sales and marketing person messaging other people. Sales Navigator search, although it's paid around about $80 per month, it lets you view 2,500 results per day, and you have way less limitations on the amount of searches and way more filters. The only downside, and a lot of people ask this, is if I have a Sales Navigator account, does that mean I can't get banned from LinkedIn? And the answer is no. There is no link to LinkedIn safety in a paid account. You could have paid the year in advance, but your account can still be suspended. And I'll show you in a little bit how to keep your account safe. But Sales Navigator search is a must for anybody who's serious about LinkedIn outreach, that outbound marketing. And one of the main reasons is, above all of this, you can click share search, or you can click save search just here. And saved search is great because then I can look at all of these different people and I can find out my target audience. So for example, what I did before this event is I filtered my network of who's a founder, who's some of the audiences that we like to work with, but usually don't have a budget to work with us, whose connection is first degree, and maybe some keywords. And those are the people we have as a target audience. And then I started to invite them to my event or say, let's have a call. Can I get to know you? That sort of thing. So I think having a saved Sales Navigator search is a really good way that you can keep track of what you're doing. Whereas if you've got a basic LinkedIn, you could spend a lot of time on a search, shut your laptop down, and that search has disappeared. And you sort of forgot where you were up to with messaging. Particularly if you're looking at automated tools, you need something like Sales Navigator where you can have an updated search all the time. Good. So the next one is group search, and this is a great hack that a lot of people don't realize. So if I go just to LinkedIn very quickly, and if you think about trying to find your target audience, the main thing is trying to find people with like-minded. And so a lot of time, if you just type in sales, for example, and at the very top, you can click on groups. So it'll load up in a second, sorry. Or we can try it this way. If you just click here and then you click on groups, you can see all the different groups you can join, and it'll naturally try and recommend groups that you think will be relevant to you based on your job title, the pages you view, that sort of thing. Now, my one tip for groups is try and join groups with about 2,000 to 3,000 people. The bigger the groups are, the likely it is that they're not well moderated, and basically you're just in a group with all different people trying to sell instead of a really specific group of people like your target audience. So once you click join a group, and I'll show you sort of one of the groups I'm in at the moment. You can see here, this one here. So B2B sales in Lithuania. So I'm based in Lithuania, very small population of people to work with. And so having them all in one place is amazing to be able to interact with. So because I'm part of the group, I can go here and I can message them. But even if I'm not part of the group, I want to show you a really good hack. So if you have Sales Navigator, you can do the following, and I'll just show you this. You click on lead filters and you scroll to the bottom and you can see here groups. You can type in any group you want and that you found, whatever it is. So you could say generation. You could find, I don't know, this one here, whatever the group might be. And you can see all the people in the group without actually having to join the group. So the goal of this is whenever you're thinking about your target audience, if you're using Sales Navigator, just build a list of all of your target audience in terms of the groups. Then you can filter the groups. So out of all of these people, I can say, well, are there any that have viewed my profile recently? And then great, these are the people that I should speak to. So there are a lot of different hacks you can do, but generally the idea is with a group search, you can join the group and message people, or you can still see all the people in the group just by using Sales Navigator and filtering by group. And this can really help you find people with like-minded interest. And if you're trying to break into a new country, a new industry, this sort of thing, just join a group where all the like-minded people are, filter them on Sales Navigator, and then filter them down by job title, location, that sort of thing. Good. Few other ones. So think of events search. So today I'm doing an event on building your network. So the target audience here that I'm speaking to are people that I can train, that I can help, that I can work with. But you don't belong to me. You're just people who registered for the event. So anybody else could look at this event and see who's registered and interact with them as well. And this is a great way to leverage the ability of LinkedIn of being public. And what I mean by this is that if you do the following, if you click enter at the top, so I'll just go back home. And then, apologies, it crashes from time to time. If you click search and then enter, and then if you go to events, you can see all the events that have taken place. And if I just click on this top one for an example, if I click attend, what it means is that I can now see all the people that are attending the event. And what this means that, again, if I click here, I can now filter all these people that are attending the event and see, like a basic LinkedIn filter, second degree, job title, founder, that sort of thing. So when trying to find your target audience, instead of trying to get somebody perfect, find people that are part of a group or part of an event, and you've probably got things in common with them. And by doing that approach, what it means is that it's much easier to have a conversation when you both attended the same event, part of the same group, than just simply a cold approach. And that's what I mean by event search. So whenever I'm working with companies, one of the first questions I ask is, are there any events coming up or any groups that you're part of? Because that's a really quick hack that as an agency, we can find a really good target audience that might be interested in their product or service that we're selling. Good. Final few, post search. I don't do this too much because I don't think LinkedIn are very powerful at this, but it can be very good for things like trade shows. But the general idea behind this, so if you click search and then enter and click posts, you can now see all the different posts that your network are talking about. And there's me. But if you see about these, what you can see is if I type something like sales, I can see all the posts that people are writing about sales. And what's great about this is that you can click here and you can see people who've interacted with the post. And the idea behind this is if that person has interacted with the post, they're probably likelihood of interested in the same content that you have to offer them, and so you can reach out to them. So it's a bit far-fetched, and I don't think it gets great results. But the logic you can do is maybe scrape the people who like your competitors' posts, interact with people who like, I don't know, influencers' posts, that sort of thing, just to find the right people to speak to. But as I say, I don't do this too much because there are much better ways to find the target audience. Now, LinkedIn Learners, this is one of the biggest hacks that helped my agency grow. And I never hear anybody doing training, anybody talking about this. So let me show you and see if you get it. So the general idea behind this is on LinkedIn, again, if you press enter, you can click at the top and you can click courses. Now, LinkedIn advertised this really badly, and it doesn't really fit well here in terms of filters because you don't really know what you don't know. You don't know what to look for. It's not clear what this is. But all of this here, courses, is actually called LinkedIn Learning. And if you click on LinkedIn Learning and you go to this is much better. It's a whole new world of LinkedIn that many people don't know about. And on one side, this is really great for you to learn how to study, how to get better, how to do a lot of different things. But from my side as a salesperson with a sort of growth hacking mentality, what I'm looking for is how do I find people that are showing me buying signals? And this is what I do. I type in sales, press enter, and I filter by type and I filter out by courses. And then I'll choose advanced. Oh, sorry, I'll go back there. Then I choose advanced. Here we go. And what I'm looking for is this person says preparing for sales calls. So the person who will be attending this are salespeople who are going to be doing cold calling. Now, salespeople doing cold calling will probably be trying to generate new leads, which my service can help. And so if you go to the right-hand side here and click, you'll see all these people are the ones who like this course. And because they like this course, I could reach out to Jeffrey and say, hey, Jeffrey, I saw we both like the same course. Would be great to get to know each other. So the general idea is the buying signals are showing, are they attending an online course so I can interact with them? And you can go one step further. There's a software called Phantom Buster, and there's an option called LinkedIn Learning Course Like as Export. So basically, you can just go to this course, click export, and you'll get all of these people on a download onto a spreadsheet. And if you imagine the ability of this, the way I grew my business was I found people that were doing courses on sales playbooks, startup growth, and interacted with them and got a lot of people onto calls. So this is what I mean by LinkedIn Learner Search, and that's a software there called Phantom Buster that can help you find your target audience. So again, you might be overwhelmed by thinking, wow, this is way too much information. But the point is, I'm trying to show you all of the ingredients for you to then say, okay, which one of these would be relevant for what I want to do? Now, if you sell a physical product, LinkedIn Learners won't be very good. But if you have an accounting software, a marketing software, a security, cloud security software, then LinkedIn Learners will be great because your target audience are trying to learn more about it, and then you can target them. Final few, LinkedIn Services. Now, LinkedIn Services is a bit strange because LinkedIn just released it and don't really tell everybody. But to find it, you just click Services there. And the way this works is that you can see all the service categories that people are offering. So if I look for marketing, for example, all filters, and I can look at this, I can say second and third degree, and maybe United Kingdom. What I can now do is filter by people in the UK that are not in my network, but offer marketing services. And if they do that, that's a really great way sometimes to find agencies. So it's a bit of a mix to try and do it. But what they're saying is they offer these sorts of skills. And maybe they could do these. And that might be just a bit more of a way to find my audience. So again, it's not something I do too much, But if you have a niche where you need to find somebody who offers a certain service, this is how you can filter it. And the final one is product search. So imagine you're trying to find people who to interact with and how to grow your network and how to find different people. You might filter by product. And if you filter by product, this is what you can do. You can say category is, I don't know, let's say marketing if they have one. Video marketing software, there we go, show results. And this will show all the filters of companies that offer video marketing software. So it's a really great way that if you have an agency that helps with video marketing softwares, you could reach out to these one by one and interact with them. So it's a great way of filtering out companies who have a certain product that they've featured on LinkedIn. And if we go back to all of these, what you'll then see is there's a range of different areas of how to find your target audience. So any of you before this webinar that went onto LinkedIn, really sort of amateur profile picture, grayed out background, and then you'd message a few people that say Startup Founder UK and you're not getting results, you can now see what your competitors are doing at this sort of level. Brilliant profile and using all these different ways to find people with buying signals. Who attends an event? Who attends a group? Who is attending a LinkedIn learning course? Who follows my profile? Who likes a post? And when you put this all together, it puts you in such a strong position to just be ready for interacting with people. So it takes you to us here. And again, I just want to thank you so much. We're sort of getting towards the last sort of 20, 30 minutes for attending this webinar and being with me so far. And my goal, as always, is to try and share the information to empower you to do this yourself. And I read a very good article about should you work with an agency compared to should you do things in-house and the return on investment. And the return on investment will always be best if you can do things internally, but only if you can get results quickly. Now, a lot of companies say we don't want to outsource, and they take 6 months to get to the level that would take me a week to prove the same results. And the thing you're sort of outsourcing is education and expertise. So it's taken me 10 years to get to this point where a company can outsource and within a week, I can say it's set up for you. So just consider this as a company that what is return on investment? Is it spending X amount of money and getting X amount of return? Or do you actually value how long it would take you to do this yourself compared to another company setting it up for you? And that's the sort of trade-off you've got to compare. Good. So we're at now, profile optimized, search created, but how do we actually say hello? It's like when you were a kid going to school disco and there was the girls this side, the guys this side, and nobody would talk to each other, just stand, like when you're very small. That's basically where we're at. So how do you break the ice? How do we get going? And again, there are 7 different ways to interact with people. And I would say probably 2 of these, or at least one of these you've never heard before, called a Gmail connector campaign. But if you can combine all of these sort of outreaches together, you can interact with 1,000 people per week easily. Even probably more, I would say maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people per week, completely safe. So why do you think there were 1,600 people registered for today's webinar? It's because I do all of these things. And that's why I put the pressure on myself to say, I'm not going to do all of this for clients, yet not practice it on our own business. We're an agency, we want to grow, so we practice what we preach and we do all these things. So let me just show you what I mean by this. So a connector campaign, very straightforward. I can find somebody from all the different searches that we spoke about, click on people, click to say hello, and I can click connect. Simple as that. And that's a connector campaign. And the reason I call it a campaign is you either do this manually or you can use a software that can automate it, but connecting one by one. That's connection. It should be fairly straightforward. What you might not realize, though, is if you do this sort of campaign, one on a desktop and one on a mobile, you actually get to connect with an extra 100 to 150 people per week. So for our clients, what we do is we'll connect with people on a desktop, and then we'll use a software that simulates like a mobile, even though we use it still on a desktop. But it means you can bypass restrictions by doing what's called a mobile connector campaign. Next one, Gmail, I'm going to save for a second. A quick question here. Somebody was asking about a Boolean search, and I'll come back to that. But a Boolean search on anything, finding your target audience, finding people to speak to, is just this: quotation mark, sales, or CEO, or marketing. So a Boolean search is where you put multiple together, or you might say and, or you might say not. But a Boolean search is what helps you really get your target audience specific. And this can be used for people, for events, for groups, to really filter those 930 million people on LinkedIn down to 100 that would be perfect to work with. Good. So that's mobile connector. Okay, open InMail. So a lot of people get confused. Open InMail is different to InMail. So with Sales Navigator, it's a paid account and you get 200 credits, I think, or 150 credits per month to send an InMail message. Now, an open InMail is different. An open InMail, if I can find it, is when somebody has a gold profile on their, here we go. So this person here has a gold profile. And what this means is that they have an open profile. So I can message anybody with an open profile without having to connect with them. And that is called an open InMail campaign. And when we're thinking of limitations, just for numbers, you can send about 20 of those per day, or about 100 per week. You can send about 100 of those per week, and you can send about 100 to 200 of those per week. So let's say 100, 200, 300, 400. So on about 400 messages over the week so far. Next one is group messenger campaign. So, oops, sorry, I'll go back there. If you're part of a group, and I'll just find my groups here again, what you can do is message anybody in the group without needing to connect with them. So think of this great hack. You're trying to boost sales, grow your network. Find a really specific group, join the group, and only if you're accepted, you can then click show all and have a look at this person here. I've never connected with them, but if I click message, there you go, we can speak. And that is called a group messenger campaign. You can speak to anybody within the group without needing to be connected with them. And that's part of how you can do that there. Final two is event participants campaign. So likewise, if I find any events that I'm attending, we can have a look here. And sometimes LinkedIn will change this from time to time as the layout changes. But the general idea behind this is that if you can find an event that you're part of, apologies, it can go quite slow. I'll come back to that. If you can find an event that you're part of, like today, all the 1,600 people are registered can message each other because you're registered for the group, even if you're not connected. So you don't all have to connect with me. You can just message me and say, hey, Pat, enjoyed it. Can I have a call? Can I have a chat? And you don't need to connect with me as long as you're part of the event. Growing your network, connector campaign and mobile are the ones that actually get more connections. If you want to increase volume of how to interact with more people, open InMail, group messenger, and event participants are the ones that interact with people. And you can send 100 a week, 100 a week, 100 a week, 100 a week, 100 a week. So 100, 200, 300, 400. So up to about 500 messages for the week so far. Then you have event invite campaign. And for an event invite campaign, you can invite 1,000 people to your event per week. So think about myself. I have 20,000 people in my network. I have a team of 5. And for this event today, we all were growing our network using these 2 processes. And then we were all sending as much as we can, about 1,000 events invite per week to invite to our network. And then when we were doing this, it means you get so many more people registering for the event. Inbound is us hosting the event. Outbound is us inviting thousands of people to it. And then we would also message people in the groups to say, would you like to come to our event? We would message people from other events saying, would you like to come to our event? So nothing happens by just sitting on your ass, basically. You've got to push and push and push to make things happen. And the final one in terms of how to interact, Gmail connector campaign. I don't think you'll really read anywhere about this, and this is how it works. So if you go to this page, click My Network, and then I click Show Less here, and thank you very much for everybody's impact, by the way. And if you click, let me just see here, My Network, is it here? I might have to zoom out a bit. Show Less, it should be here. Or maybe it's moved a little bit. Let's see here, we can go to Contacts. Yeah, and then you can click here, Manage things. contacts. And if you go to there, you'll see a section like this. And sorry, 1 second, somebody just asked, will I share all the slides? Yes, of course. After this talk, I'll be sharing the recording, I'll be sharing the slides, answering questions. So all of this is completely open to help you in any way I can. So yeah, don't worry about that. So if you do this point, LinkedIn has an approach where it will say, if you connect your email address to LinkedIn, it'll automatically reach out and try and connect with everybody that's in your address book by linking their email address to their LinkedIn profile. And if it does a match, send a connection request. And what happens is this works in bulk. So LinkedIn will do this in bulks of 500 people, sometimes per day, sometimes per week. So the amazing hack is if you can use a software to find the email addresses that people use to log into LinkedIn, you upload it to an email address, and then you sync that email address, you get results like this. And this is what we do for our clients to really grow their network. And by doing this, you can see these are real numbers from our own software. And some days we connected or sent 222 connection requests. Now, a lot of you are worried about a limit of 100 connections per week. We send 200 per day. And this is called a Gmail Connector campaign, this one here. So make sure when we're interacting with each other, this is sort of part of the strategy that if you're not really growing your network, it's going to be a waste of time. And I think this comes back to the return on investment of working with an agency. If they're only growing your network by 100 connections a month, you're not going to get any results. If you're growing your network by 300-400 a month, then there's a likelihood is that you're 3-4 times more likely to generate those leads that you really want. So just to summarize, and again, I get so much information, but this is the Trine approach that I want to help you with. Connect a campaign in mobile to grow your network. Gmail is the bulk connector that grows about 500 connection campaigns or requests per week. InMail, group messenger, and participants can interact with people if you're part of a network, and then event invited to invite people. And when you put all this together, you can think your LinkedIn profile is updated, all these different areas to find your target audience, and then all these different ways to message. It comes back to a final two things. And the final sort of first part of this is, what do you say and what do you do? So my approach is I want to show you a formula of how to message, and your strategy should split into two. Connect with people to introduce yourself, and then run webinars, audio events to introduce people and educate that new network of this is what I do. This is exactly what I'm doing today. So this is the formula that I use. And what's interesting is for over 10 years, I would shout at anybody who didn't send a connection request. And I would say to them, why are you not sending a connection request? And what I mean by this is, and I'm not picking on anybody, but very careful these sorts of connection requests here. The reason I don't send it is unless you send something that's completely bespoke to the event or where you met, don't send a connection request at all. Because what you'll find is if you don't add any connection request, you get about a 40% acceptance. Because at the moment, the trend is the only people who are using connection requests are salespeople, and people don't want to talk to salespeople. And the reason because this is things like ChatGPT and these sorts of softwares are becoming a spike in people being able to make everything bespoke. And so they're automating everything. But all it shows is that actually this is still clearly an automated message I'm going to ignore. So if you want to build your network, don't add a connection request. And it sort of sounds counterproductive because I'm all about personalization and making that person on the other side feel good, but you actually get a higher connection rate. And then this is simply the formula for messages. Thanks for connecting, Regilla, and I'd love to get feedback on what we are working on at Prospect Labs. We have a software that helps startups to generate leads by LinkedIn events and email marketing. Is this something you'd like to learn more about? So generally, that's it. And what we find is this is short, to the point, but it says, I would love to get your feedback. So it's putting it in a position of power so that person can think about it. You talk about your company name. You say, this is how we can help you buy this solution. And you say back to them, do you want to learn more about this? So you're not saying, book a demo, can we have a call? You're just saying, would you like to learn more? And this is a really great way for building your network, getting to know people, and trying to lead it towards working together, having a call, getting ideas, feedback, are they hiring, that sort of thing. But you want to get to a position of just starting a conversation. However, you want to be able to have that hustle a little bit. You want to make sure that if they don't reply, you should still follow up. And this is the follow-up I do. Hi, first name. We're running a series of LinkedIn events on how to generate leads from LinkedIn that I thought you might find interesting. You can find them here. And then you link to your LinkedIn company page with a list of your events. And the benefit of this is message one is introducing yourself and saying, this is what we do. Do you want some help? Message two is saying, maybe you didn't have time to check, or you're just not interested because it was a cold message. Why don't you watch our events? And by this educational approach, you'll find you get a lot of leads straight away. But you also get a lot of people that don't apply but end up on your events, such as today. So I'm always growing my network, introducing people to the events, and then following up afterwards. And that's the approach I stick to and try and do. A few quick questions are coming in. People asking, so Kevin, you were saying, is it Gmail only or 365? I think for the Gmail connector, this one here, if you upload all of the email addresses to its Outlook account, which you can here, and then sync, yes, it would work the same way. I just use Gmail, but it would work with Outlook the same as Gmail. I'm just more comfortable with Gmail. Good. So think about where we are and getting towards the end of the webinar. You're growing your network, you're interacting with people, but how do you do this educational side? And I just want to show you this idea of audio events and webinars and why it's so important. So for me, the cornerstone of lead generation for any company should be LinkedIn events. And that could be a webinar like now or an audio. So think of this webinar, it's streamed to LinkedIn Live. So my 20,000 network got a pop-up message saying Patrick's now live. It's streaming live to YouTube. It's streaming live to Facebook. So it's a one-to-many approach. That means a very busy business owner can influence thousands of people by 90 minutes of work. Not only that, I can really go into depth of my expertise, my knowledge, explain what we do to educate and build trust. So I wouldn't say I'm a salesperson. I would say I'm a teacher, and I want people to buy from me because they are educated to think that's what we need. And that's how I try and train most people. So if you think about LinkedIn events, one of the most important things is, even if you do all of the hacks that we show you, a lot of people don't always know how to do them. And so they get this pop-up message, you're restricted to 100 connections per week. And the reason you get this restriction is because it's all cold messages. But if you create things like a LinkedIn event and connect with the people who follow your event, you're much more likely to get 80%, 90% acceptance rate like we do here, and this is real results. So by you creating a LinkedIn event, it's a great hook that people can register. And even if they don't watch it live, they've still registered, which is enough buying intent that if your target market, some people call it the ICP, then you can reach out to them, connect with them, and get to know them. So it's a really safe way to grow your network, even if people don't attend the webinar. But if they do attend the webinar, it's such a good opportunity for them to get to know you. So I feel like, although you're all at the other side of the world, you've got to know me personally. You've got to know me speaking live. You can see I'm excited, I'm nervous, all these different things. You've got to know me. And that's so important that if I work with a company, it's not faceless. You actually work with me directly, and that's why I'm doing the webinar. So just want to show you a few different things. So in terms of webinars, the layout is a bit different. This one for ADHD girls was a LinkedIn Live. Others are on Zoom and that sort of thing. But webinars can range from a couple of hundred to a couple of thousand. I think my biggest has been 2,500, but I think today 1,600, something like that registered. So if done in the right way, you can get thousands of people to the webinars, but it shouldn't be a vanity metric. It might be that there's only 2 people in this webinar that are my target audience. Everybody else might be irrelevant. So who cares if there's thousands if you're doing it for lead generation? My focus is a bit different. I want to educate and train and help a lot of people, but other companies just want to do it purely for sales. But either way, you should be able to get 200 to 300 people to your webinar if you advertise in the right way. Yeah, and I think, Basil, you're saying, I think more people feel connected with each other in a live event. And it's true. A lot of people say, I'll just pre-record and put it out there. But me making a mistake, me coughing, me forgetting my lines shows I'm real compared to something that's so perfect and clean, you're suspicious about something. In terms of our LinkedIn event sponsored, I think it's the same as a podcast. No, unless you get a sponsor. So I could look at getting events sponsored in the future, but that's not really my goal. My goal is to try and train people, but also to build up my own agency. So webinars are really cool, but LinkedIn audio events are amazing. I just want to show you what an audio event is, because a lot of people don't realize this. If you click on events on the left side and click the plus sign, and then you click event type, you can choose audio event there. And the audio event is exactly like today, but no video, just me speaking. And the ability of this is it's all powered by LinkedIn, which means there's no need for external software, for calendar invites, that sort of thing. And you get some great numbers. So Atilia here, who's head of community at Prospect Labs, she got 1,300 people to an audio, way better than I ever could. So LinkedIn audios are a very easy way for you to educate your audience, use it as a sort of a lead generation channel to interact with people, but very simple in terms of how to set up and how to run. So then the final thing I just want to show you is, after all of this, what do we actually do? How can we help you? And my core focus is combining this whole strategy of LinkedIn webinars, which are live like now, or audio events, LinkedIn outreach, which is all those techniques of finding your target audience, connecting and managing messages, and also cold emailing with the goal of sales conversations for you. Not to get you on calls and make sales, but get people to want to speak to you and start that interaction. And I think the whole of this fits with this inbound, outbound section. If you just do one, cold messaging, there's no education. If you just do inbound, there's all education, but there's no sort of hustle. But what we do is combine them both. So we organize events and we connect with people after the events. We'll grow your network and then invite them to the events. And it's a lot of things like that which are getting some really spectacular results for companies we're working with. And I think what's really important for all of you is, in terms of running events, it's not about vanity metrics. If you zoom in there, you might not be able to see, but 112, 45, 61, and one of those people on each event are me. So it's not even that big a numbers. But what they were so happy with is there we go. So apologies about that, and thanks team for letting me know. So I'll just share again, and hopefully that's okay. Good. So I think if I just go back to this, hopefully you can hear me okay. It might be a little bit echoey, but it should be okay now. So I'm just checking to see if that's fixed, and then I can continue. Good. So thanks for letting me. But as you see, it's live. So in terms of the phases, LinkedIn outreach is about generating leads from cold outreach. Then we organize all the events for you on LinkedIn audios or LinkedIn webinars to try and build that up and to try and direct people towards that, and give you lots of advice on what makes a good event, what makes a bad event, what technology to use, that sort of thing. Then we do cold emailing, which is we find your email addresses for you, we write the emails, we create a new domain and set up all the domain settings, and then we run email campaigns for you. And then finally, we manage your inbox via LinkedIn and email, check all the leads that are coming in, and then alert you when there's a lead to reply to. And if you see reporting, this is a real client's dashboard. Obviously, we're not going to share who the client is, but this is real numbers from, I think this was July. And you can see 382 connections accepted, and we sent 867. The network grew by 4%. Average email open was 33%, sent 1,000. Average connection request was 44% with no connection request. In events, they had 66 are coming for the next webinar, which is advertising, but the 2 that are passed, 200 plus. And their SSI score, which is the social selling index, is growing all the time. And then we aim for about 10 leads per month, but this client has gotten 30 from this. So it's a really good month. So all of this is combined. And this has taken me 10 years to get this level, to get these results, because at times I used to do just cold outreach and then just content and then just webinars. And it's that little bit of everything that gets the great results. So this is our service. We charge 950 euros per month. We try and keep it really cost effective to work with you on a long-term basis, but also to let you add multiple accounts with us. Because the best results are when you add one LinkedIn account and rerun things, and then you say, can you do this with 2 or 3, all directing to the same content, the same webinars, that sort of thing. And so this is the dream team that I like to say that we work with. Atilia is head of community, and she's always organizing all the automations and the systems in the background. Adita, who's my wife and also co-founder, is in charge of keeping the company gelled and working well together. Myself as the founder, and then Regilla, who's the managing director, who will be doing demos, sales calls, that sort of thing. So it has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you all today. If you do feel like the budget is affordable, then just go to prosperlabs.co/done-for-you, scan the QR code, connect with me on LinkedIn. Just do something to interact with me and make sure we find a time to speak. We're a small bespoke agency. I like to work with people that I like the product and that I can't stop thinking about because I want to come up with new ideas to work with. And if we do work with you, it's me personally that will be the account manager, setting up the messages, speaking to you every day and interacting with you. And so we don't want to work with too many companies, but we like to be really selective on the ones who are a good fit and we think we can really support you and get some good results. So I think if this is relevant for you, please just scan there, book a demo, and let me know. And then most importantly, try and think about what are you going to take away from today's session? What are you going to do? Are you going to update your profile picture? Are you going to update the background and the tagline? Are you going to start interacting with people from other events or other groups? Are you going to start messaging people with an email campaign? Are you going to find people on LinkedIn Learning? Are you going to try my message formula for interacting with people? Are you going to host a LinkedIn webinar, a LinkedIn audio? But I like to try and show people what I think is the 1%, what is world-class. And by no means I'm the best agency in the world, but I want to be, and I want to learn, and I want to develop, and I want to do all these things that can keep raising the bar. But if you think about yourself in a sales and marketing position, and you're not doing all of this, this should get you excited to think, this is what I could be doing in the future. This is all the things I could be doing. Or let us do it for you, and I would love to speak to you. So thank you so much for all of your time. I've been moderating some of the questions and things coming in. If you send me an email to patrick@prospectlabs.co, I'll share the slides, I'll share resources. All of you that have registered will have added an email address. So I'll send you a newsletter tomorrow morning with a recording of this, with a copy of the slides, and politely trying to push you to work with us, but only politely. So thank you so much for all your time. Thank you for taking out your busy schedule to come and watch today. I hope you found it inspiring and interesting. And whenever you are in the world, or whatever time it is, keep working hard, keep pushing, and see this as a chance that our paths have sort of digitally crossed, but reach out to me, get to know each other, and if I can help you, I promise I will do. So thank you so much for today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Keep in touch, everyone, and yeah, we will speak very soon. Cheers, guys.